So let's get started. In studio with me today is Robbie Strider, my friend and assistant coach, and Melody Wilkes, the previous host of this particular Showtime. And so they're going to be here to listen, ask questions, etc. One thing I want to start with is either something crazy that I hear or a question that people commonly ask. That's how I want to start off all of the shows. And so um, recently I heard, okay, so I am going to go on my diet for the weekdays or for 6 days, and then I'm going to have a cheat day, or my trainer says I can have a cheat day, or whatever. Okay, so I could talk for an hour on the reasons you don't want a cheat day. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on one half a second here. I'm going to take my dog. She's in the bag here. And she's wiggling around, and I forgot to put her in between my feet, so she'll be quiet. All right, so now she's in between my feet, so all is well. Okay, back on topic. 30,000 foot view of why you don't want a cheat day. All right, it is true you do not want to just completely omit all treats and sweets and stuff from your diet, because you'll go crazy. You're going to want to have that. But you have to be careful on a cheat day. One, it is very possible to consume enough calories on a cheat day that you will undo the other 6 days. You've got to be super careful about that. Second, when you are cheating, you are more than likely eating garbage food. You're eating processed food, you're eating things that are high in wheat, which is toxic to your GI tract. You're eating things that are high industrial seed oils that are toxic to your entire body. It's like drinking radiation. You're also probably consuming extremely high unprocessed or processed sugar in relation to the amount of protein that you're having. So you're going to end up on that day consuming far more glucose than your body can process. And you will eventually undo in the long term, if not the short term, the good things that you're doing. So a better plan would be have a treat. Have a day where maybe you eat a little more of the great food that you're already eating. Throw in a little extra potato, throw in a little extra fruit, and then have a cupcake or have a hamburger with the bun. Have a thing that is something that you really, really want, rather than just blow the whole day and undo everything. So, more on that later in more details with more science, because I like the science part of it. But, so that's that. Watch out for your cheat days. Plus, I don't like them calling it cheat. Because
who are you cheating?
Because who are you cheating? And what is it that you're doing on the other days that requires a cheat? I mean, that whole psychological concept doesn't make sense, and it can undo you. All right, so what we want to do for a topic today is sort of up to Robbie. But what Robbie's going to do is sort of role play a new client coming in to me, and just kind of put out there what it is that she wants, and I'm going to hit the big points of what I would do with this person from the beginning. So, are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
I've studied my acting skills. I'm about to put them into use.
We're actually not going to technically role play it because I'm a terrible actress.
So it's going to be fun. Okay, so I'm coming to you. I want to know what you have to offer me. I'm a client that I've made a New Year's resolution, or a potential client. I've made a New Year's resolution to lose some weight, maybe 30 pounds or so. I want to tone up as well. I've never weight trained before. I've not spent much time in a gym. I'm a little uncomfortable with it. I want to know what you have that can help me.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. And this is actually something that I do, is I make sure I understand what the client is asking me for. Because a lot of times I will just give them what I want to give them, and that's not right, okay? So you want to lose some weight, 30-ish pounds. You'd like to work out, but you haven't really done that in the gym before, and
Yes.
you're a little intimidated. You want to tone up your body. What else did I miss?
I didn't mention that I want to work out, but I don't like working out. I'm
Oh.
afraid of it. I've never done it before. That's why I haven't done it yet, because
Okay.
it intimidates me. I think it's uncomfortable. I just don't like any of it.
And I
Okay.
don't want to bulk up.
Don't want to bulk up. I want to
Okay.
tone up.
Okay, great, great. You want to tone, not bulk. Okay. So my first gut impulse is to just jump all over this person on all the questions that they asked me that were bad questions. But I can't, that's really inappropriate. But I will tell you now, this whole toning thing is a problem. There is no such thing. Second, you're not going to bulk up. It's disrespectful to say I don't want to bulk up when you're Joe Blow off the street. It is disrespectful to the people who actually really are bodybuilders, because you cannot get like that unless you try really, really hard. Okay, so now what I would do first is advise this person that they need to take a very holistic approach. Okay, they need to change their food. They need to move well and move often / exercise. But you know I don't like the exercise word because it's a industry construct. And they need to get excellent sleep, and they need to start limiting their stress. And they need to put all of these things together, and what will happen is eventually they will change their mind. They will change their brain in how it looks at food, looks at movement, looks at diet, and looks at health. Okay, so for your food, oh, well, let me back up to what I do in a health assessment consultation. I bring somebody in and have them sign up for this hour and a half with me health assessment consultation. And prior to that time, I send them 2 questionnaires and a 3-day food log. So they, for me, fill out 3 days of the food that they're eating, and they answer about 600 questions. And that comes to me electronically, and I take that data and I graph it. And based on the questions that I ask, it allows me to determine how their brain, adrenals, thyroid, cardiovascular, immune, kidney, bladder are working, how their whole GI tract is working, specifically the different parts. How is their stomach, small intestines, liver, gallbladder, large intestines working? And then whether they are deficient in vitamins or minerals or excellent fatty acids, and whether they are eating more sugar than their body can process. So I do all of that ahead of time before they ever come in. They come in, and I also have had them answer loads of questions on their history. How old are you? How have you worked out in the past? Were you born vaginally or cesarean section? Were you breastfed? What is your blood type? What do you do for a living? What are your hobbies? How often do you exercise? What does that look like? Do you meditate? What does that look like? What meds are you on? What supplements are you on? Just loads and loads and loads of questions. When did you hit puberty? How are your periods if you're a female? How's your libido if you're male or female? As a man, have you lost some of your aggressive tendencies? Do you feel more lackadaisical in your life and less aggressive? And so I put all of that together. We talk about it. We come up with what are their biggest physical challenges, like their health challenges. What's going on with their health? Are they digesting their food well? I look at their meds. Gosh, what meds are you on? How are they interacting with each other? How do they interact with food? How are they going to make you feel better or worse? And then how is the food that you're eating interacting with that and making you feel better or worse? How are they going to affect your workouts? So, for example, if one is on a statin drug, I will never be able to put as much muscle on somebody that's on a statin as who is not, because statins decrease muscle. They tear up muscle. And so I have to know that ahead of time before I get people in the gym. If people are on a bunch of, if they're on blood pressure med, I have to know that, because as soon as we start changing people's food and even their exercise, but food in and of itself, their blood pressure will start going down. And if I don't warn them ahead of time about that, we'll find these people that are just like, they can't, when they stand up, they want to pass out. They get really, really dizzy and disoriented in the middle of the afternoon. And it's because we've improved their health and they don't need their meds anymore. So we go through all of that, put them on a body composition scanner to see how much muscle and fat they have. That then allows me to tell them how much food they need to eat, how much of it needs to be protein, how much fat, and then how much carbs. And I begin everybody on a couple of basic nutrition plans. It's whole real food, mostly meat, but a lot of plants. Zero for the first 2 weeks, starchy or sweet natural carbohydrates. So for the first 2 weeks, no fruit, no sweet potatoes, no rice, no winter squashes, no nuts and seeds for the first 2 weeks. Now those I listed off because they are actually healthy and useful for the human body. There's some other things that I pull people off of for the first 2 weeks that we are not actually going to actively try to put back in. And those things are grains and beans. So grains and beans and, industrial oils are always out. But grains and beans / legumes are foods that are not nutritionally valuable. They are almost always in a treat form. And so we've only put those back in just as treats, right? They're never going to be actually part of an active nutrition plan. So I give people that food list. I tell them how to do the first 2 weeks. And basically for the first 2 weeks, you can eat as much as you want. Because I've got to transition the body over from burning glucose / sugar as its main fuel source to burning fat as its main fuel source. Because if you cannot burn fat as your main fuel source, then you're never going to burn stored body fat, or it's going to be more difficult for you too. So right at first, we're giving people fat and protein to eat, and it allows their body to get used to using that as a fuel source. Then when I pull the calories back down, they can pull it from their fat stores. So that's what I do with regards to food. What question do you have, new client, on food itself? What kind of thing would be triggered if I told you that with food?
What about dairy?
Dairy, okay. So I limit dairy in the first 2 weeks, well, almost forever, to yogurt, full-fat grass-fed yogurt, aged raw cheese, and maximum approximately of 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, preferably grass-fed heavy cream a day, and grass-fed butter and grass-fed ghee. So that's dairy. There is no more zero drinking milk out of a glass. That is not normal. That's baby food. It is baby food, it is not adult food. Drinking milk out of a glass / out of an udder / out of a breast is about making babies fat. And we are not babies and we don't want to be fat. So no more drinking milk like that. Now, can you use a glass of milk with some Fruit Loops as a treat one day? You most certainly can. But you're going to know what you're doing when you do it, right? So that's how I limit dairy. What I do find, though, is sometimes I have to pull dairy out completely for some people. I have had multiple clients where I set up their macros, I set up what they're going to eat, and they're hitting it perfect every time, every day. I'm looking at their food logs and I'm looking at their calorie and nutrient trackers, and they are just plateaued. Weight's not coming off. But I'll notice in almost all those cases, they are eating at least 1 serving of dairy a day, maybe more. And cheese is easy, right? It's easy and it's fun. Yogurt is easy and fun. I get it. Putting butter on all your veggies is easy and fun and delicious. But sometimes we find with some people that's a no, and I will pull out all dairy for them 1 week, and boom, fat's dropping off again. And I didn't change anything else. I made them keep their fat and protein the way it was. I'm like, you got to replace it with something. So it's not like I dropped their calories. I just said no, no cheese. Stop the cheese and the yogurt, and then their fat starts coming off again. So it depends, and this is why you need to have some of this information available to you, or you need to have a coach, somebody like me that you can bounce this information off of and get another eye to look on it. So, how about you, Robbie? Do you have any food questions?
Well, I am afraid of all the fat.
Oh.
So my whole life I've always heard that fat makes you fat. Foods with cholesterol give you high cholesterol.
And then heart disease.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Oh, fair question. Sadly, this is also a question that I just feel my heart get super sad when the question is asked to me, because there's so many other things I want to tell this person, and I just want them to basically take my opinion on it. But I know I can't do that. So this is the thing. You have two main sources of fuel in your body. You can either use glucose or you can use fat as a fuel source. Okay? Both of them, yes. Mitochondria like them both. It's fine. The thing is any excess of sugar is immediately and quickly stored as fat. If you can't use it or your muscles can't store it, glucose immediately gets stored as fat. Okay? When you eat fat, if you overeat some fat, well, if you eat a lot of fat, that doesn't necessarily happen, certainly not immediately, because fat is actually used to make body parts and chemicals in your body. Your brain is made of fat, your nerves are insulated in fat. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, serotonin, dopamine, all made of fat, cholesterol, and vitamin D. Notice I added cholesterol into that too. Your cells are all made of protein, cholesterol, and fat. So, with regards to both cholesterol and fat, you have to have them to make body parts and chemicals. There's nothing in your body that's made from a carbohydrate, made from glucose, other than energy. So, if you're going to eat an energy source, wouldn't it be useful to eat an energy source that once it's used up for energy, it now can be used to make body parts, right? Okay, so fat is not going to make you fat. Protein's not going to make you fat. And technically, carbs won't make you fat either, as long as you're not eating more than you need to. So you don't want to be scared of fat. Most people can eat a lot more fat than they were told in the 80s, right? So
I can eat bacon?
You can eat bacon. Bacon is a fun fat food, and bacon is delicious. But because it has so much fat, so this is the caveat to fat, is that it's calorie dense. So when you eat only a little of it, it's got a lot of calories in it. So a piece or two of bacon a day is not going to be ratcheting up your calories very much. But sometimes people don't stop with 2 pieces of bacon.
It is difficult to
do
stop.
Bacon and eggs and sausage with cheese. And next thing you know, that meal was extremely high in fat. Fat itself is not going to hurt you, but the calories that you just consumed might put you over the calorie deficit that you need to lose weight. So, all right, I want to hit, well, we can come back to food, but I want to hit a little bit on exercise, because you mentioned wanting to be in the gym and being a little bit afraid of it. So, first of all, if you come and work with me, I'm going to put you in my gym, which is separated out from the big gym area, right? So while there may be another person in there working out at the same time as you, you're not going to be on display. Okay, so where I have people train is a very relaxing and comforting place. So that helps the intimidation factor right there. The other thing is, I don't expect anybody to know anything. And that even goes for people that come in and tell me, I have been weightlifting for 25 years and I know what to do and I was a certified personal trainer for a little while. I'm still going to assume that that person does not know what they're doing because so much of us are taught wrong. And I have to reteach so much, even to people that think they know what they're doing. So I try to be as comforting as possible, let people know it doesn't matter, it's fine. We're going to do this from scratch. I do everybody from scratch. I'm not babying you because you don't know. I baby everybody, right? So I try to get them to trust me as much as possible. And then what we do in the gym the first day is extremely simple and straightforward, and everybody does it. Okay, there's nobody that I do not do this with. So I call it mobility mantra. And I teach people how to do inchworm, plank down dogs, arm swings, some stuff with some bands and some PVC pipe. It's just a warm up. How to squat deeply and open their hips up, how to do glute bridges and warm up their glutes and get their glutes firing. And all of that is done just body weight only or with a very, very light band. It usually takes me 45 minutes to teach it because I do the movement and I let the person do the movement. I do the next one, they do the next one. And as they're going along, I critique them, make sure they're doing it right, and then I tell them why they're doing it. Because there is a chemical or biological / physical reason that I'm having them do each little piece that they're doing. And I want them to know why. And some people forget it, some people don't. But if you don't forget it, then you can learn to apply it in other areas of exercise. So what this mobility mantra is, it ends up being something that you can do in a 7.5 to 8 minutes. That's all it takes once you learn how to do it. If you're not going to work out that day, it is your workout. If you are going to work out, it's your warm-up for your workout. So you will find some coaches or trainers, and this is not a bad thing, it's just a different thing than what I do. They will have a different warm-up for whatever the workout is that day. That's not bad, because what they've thought through is, okay, what are we going to be doing in the gym today, and how do we need to warm up to get ready for that? Which makes perfect sense, and it's fine. The problem is the person coming in to work out never knows what their warm-up is going to be. And some warm-ups are kind of complicated. And so you start off the day with, oh my gosh, that was just the warm-up, and I couldn't even figure it out by the time the warm-up was supposed to be done. By doing it the way I do it, it's the same. You learn it, you know it, that's why I call it a mantra. It's because it's just something that you can do without really thinking about it, and it is perfection for any exercise you're about to do. It's perfect for heavy lifting, light lifting, cardio. It's perfect for right before you go play tennis, you do parts of it, before you play a match. It is great if you're traveling. I am driving to Dallas, I gotta stop twice and get gas. I do pieces of my mobility mantra when I'm at the gas tank, right? It's just brilliant like that. So what happens then is, for these people who are fearful of the gym or fearful of starting something new or fearful of people looking at them, put them in a private place, it's comfortable, and I teach them this warm-up. And when they are finished with that 45 minutes of me teaching it, almost everybody says something like, this isn't as hard as I thought it would be. Or, that was difficult, but I can't believe I feel better now than when I started. Like, only in 45 minutes. Most people get tanked after a workout. Some people also say, that was the warm-up? Wow, I am a little nervous about getting in and lifting now because the warm-up was really hard for me. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. You're going to come next time, and then we're going to build on it, right? So I just take people where they are. Um, so I like to get them started like that. And then the second time they come in, we do 7 basic human movements. I teach people how to push and pull horizontally, push and pull vertically, squat, hinge, and tighten up their middle, their corset, their abs. And people, again, there are always revelations at the end of that 45 minutes. People say, wow, I've been, overhead pressing my whole life and I've never done it right once until today, right? Um, Same thing with squats. A lot of people come in apprehensive to do squats. Oh, I don't want to, my knee hurts, or I have a knee replacement, or I've got a torn this or torn that. My knees always hurt when I squat. And I'm like, oh, do what I tell you and we'll see what happens. And then they squat the way I ask them to, and they're just looking at me with their mouth hanging open and their eyes big because it didn't hurt their knees. And I'm like, okay, now let's do one where it does hurt your knees. And we go back to the way they were squatting, and then I make them repeat the proper way. So then they feel the difference. And they go, okay, I'll practice that one. So by the end of that second session, I don't have anybody afraid to come back in. They know I've got their back. They know I'm not going to hurt them. They know that everything they've done with me has made them better in the moment, and they're ready to come back. So.
And what do you do for clients if I came in the first time and you told me all of this and showed me all of this, I might feel overwhelmed. How am I going to remember this all?
Okay, so I call that drinking from the fire hose, and it really happens twice, 2 really big times. Once in that first hour and a half, and then the second time is when I take clients to the grocery store, because we go on a grocery store visit, and I go through the grocery store and tell them all this stuff in about an hour, 15 minutes. And I acknowledge to the client at the end of both of those, I know this was like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much here. I understand you're not going to remember it all. So what I want you to do is, as you're driving home, just think through some of the things that I told you. Think through some of them, just replay them in your mind. Try to go through as many things as you can. With regards to the grocery store visit, I will say, today or tomorrow, go to the grocery store. Try to go to a grocery store different than the one we just were at, and go through and thoughtfully go buy some groceries, because then you're practicing it soon. With regards to the health assessment consultation, I try just to comfort them that it's fine, that I am always happy for them to ask me questions over and over and over. Do not feel bad about forgetting something that you know you've been told. And one of the things I set up in my programs is part of their program is to have text and email access to me all the time, basically 24/7. And so if questions come up, I don't want people dwelling on it for a week or so until they see me again. They can text me and ask the questions anytime. So I comfort them in that, and generally that's useful.
How long are sessions, and how many times a week do people work out?
It depends. Some people want to just do nutrition only and don't want to do the fitness piece. People that do nutrition with me, I see them from 45 minutes to an hour 15, 6 times over 12 weeks, and we just distribute that 6 times as we need to. And they're coming in for some mobility work, 7 basic human movements, education on carbohydrates and how much to apply to their body, or how much to apply. Sounds like a scientist. How much to eat, and doing that physical exam where I figure out if they need supplements or not. So they'll be in 6 times, 45 minutes to an hour 15. People that are doing nutrition and fitness both will meet me no less than once a week for 12 weeks. You have the option to meet me once, twice, or 3 times a week. And it just depends. It depends on your schedule, the available time that you have, and honestly, money too, right? You have to take that into consideration. That's a resource that, is a problem, and we work around it. It's fine. We figure out the best thing to do. But people come and see me once, twice, or three times a week. The sessions are 45 minutes for training sessions if we're going to work out. If we're doing a physical exam up in my office, it's generally an hour.
What's in the physical exam?
Okay, that's that's the neurolingual testing. That is when I get you up in my office and you lay down on your back, and I palpate or press, touch on different nerve pathways in your body, and I ask you to give me a tenderness rating. Like, is it tender? Do you feel pain or not? If you don't feel any pain, you tell me 0. If you jump off the table, it's a 10, and then if most of the pain is somewhere in between. Those specific pathways are ones that, being directly connected to the brain and directly connected to organ systems, they can be manipulated by putting food in your mouth, food or supplements in your mouth. So we put the food or the supplement in your mouth and we let it sit there for 30 seconds. And that's long enough for the brain to figure out what is in the mouth, and it will start changing the body's function and getting ready to eat that food or consume that supplement. And then I will re-palpate those spots and see if the tenderness level changed. If the tenderness went up, then that is a supplement or a food that's bad for you. If the tenderness went down, it's one that is good for you. So, and then that'll allow me to get a better idea of your needs. So it's based in embryology. It's not voodoo. All right, we are back, and we just finished up talking about neurolingual testing, and that's something that I'd like to take kind of a little bit longer time on at some point and explain that compared to muscle testing and why it works, and why it's not voodoo, that it is based in embryology and embryological development and so forth. But all right, we've hit food, we've hit a little fitness, health assessment consultations. All right, new client. Where have I dropped the ball? Where are you still having questions?
Well, this is really my big one now. After hearing you talk about all of this testing, and I actually heard you earlier this morning talking about chocolate, I was really impressed with your amount of scientific knowledge, and I'd like to know what your background is. What are your degrees, your education, your certification to get you to this point?
All right. So the way I'd like to, do these shows is more about what can make you better. Not necessarily talking about my background, but I do also know that besides the fact that I've lost a lot of weight and healed a lot of people, they are interested in my degrees and how I have gotten to where I am. So, all right, let me just kind of do a quick overview here. Always been interested in science my whole life. Been a geek like that. My dad basically taught me to be that way. For undergrad, I got a bachelor's in both math and biology. And then I went on and taught high school biology. So basically, when you learn to teach something, you learn it even better. So my ability to understand science improved as I started teaching it. I went back and got a master's degree in environmental toxicology and at Texas Tech. And at that point, I studied the function of the thyroid gland, and when it is functioning abnormally, its effects on the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, which is brain, sex organs, and how all of that works together with the thyroid gland. Then I went on and got a PhD in neurotoxicology. So this is when I studied the effects of methylmercury on the developing fetal brain. And so, and not just the developing fetal brain, but I ended up looking at aged adults and what methylmercury did to their brains as well, and then pregnant females. And so methylmercury is a chemical that is found in farmed fish, predominantly, tuna, salmon, any really farmed fish. And so I did that. That is my formal education. When I was working as a toxicologist, I continued my education there with regards to all sorts of chemicals: cobalt, chromium, asbestos, PFOAs, more on mercury, being educated and doing research on those particular chemicals during those 7 years, working with FDA, EPA, USDA, learning how those entities function, how research comes to be, how research is publicized and so forth, and how it's implemented into the industries. Then at that point, I quit all of that, started my own business, and as a I wanted to be basically dietitian and strength coach, right? So I had to figure out how to do that the very best way and not go back and get 3 more degrees. So what I did is found the premier holistic nutrition group in the country, and it's called the Nutritional Therapy Association. And I became a functional nutritional therapy practitioner through them, and I've even taught for them a couple of times since then. I also went through Precision Nutrition, which is out of Canada. It's to become a sports nutrition coach. So they teach you more about really applying nutrition to sports. I studied with Girls Gone Strong in their postnatal and pregnancy nutrition and fitness coaching. Primal Blueprint with Mark Sisson just as a health coach. Then for my strength and conditioning. So all of that was nutrition and lifestyle type things. For strength and conditioning, I went through the National Strength and Conditioning Association, and I did that because they are the most academic of the group, and therefore their stuff is more based on science rather than what we call bro science and like, oh, this is the way we've always done it. Strong First, just brilliant with Pavel Tsatsouline. Their Russian hardstyle kettlebell. They now have Olympic lifting, power lifting, barbell lifting, body weight work. It is the most brilliant and well thought out and well executed strength and conditioning education out there. And what is very different about Strong First than really any other credentials that you can get is they make you do physical tests. So you have to go and you have to learn and you have to take the courses, but then you also have to lift the heavy object at a certain level. You've got to prove that you can squat and deadlift and overhead press and snatch and clean and jerk, etc. And single arm push-up, pull-ups, single leg squats. You have to prove you can do it, and you have to prove that you can do it perfectly, and you prove that you can do it at a weight that is appropriate for your age. And so I love that. So many, I think, trainers that we have, they know theory, but can they actually do what they're going to do? And then Strong First also tests you on teaching. They make you teach those things and they observe you. So I did that. I did gymnastic bodies with Chris Summers, the national men's team gymnastic coach in Denver. I did a training with him. I'm also CrossFit certified, level 1. And I have done functional movement systems, which is called FMS. That is a certification that you get on how the body moves, how to test how it moves, and how to, at the very basic level, make it stronger and more mobile. I've done a pain-free performance specialist certification with some physical therapists that coach that, so you know how to move the body without pain. Mobility WOD and Yoga Tune-Up both are certifications that you can get on how to get the body moving, the muscles moving, the fascia moving, get rid of pain. And then I did some training through a group called Habitry, and they are psychologists that work with you to teach people how to be motivated, how to change their lifestyle, change their behavior. That's what I did.
That explains things.
All the things.
So, if I went to my doctor, and he told me that I needed to get blood work done, maybe, thyroid check, cholesterol, blood sugar, that sort of thing. Would you be able to advise me on what I need to do, and would you be able to look at that and explain to me what's going on?
Yes. So with regards to blood work, well, no, first of all, with regards to me not being a medical doctor, I do not diagnose and treat disease. Okay. So when I look at blood work, I do it from the eye of a PhD toxicologist. So, unless you have a medical degree or some sort of a degree such as toxicology, which has trained you to actually look at body system functions, you're not really supposed to be doing it. So what I will do is I will look at blood work. There's some key blood work that I really like. I want to see blood glucose. I want to see fasting insulin. I want to see total cholesterol, HDL, LDL, and triglycerides. I want to see thyroid. Now, I need the full thyroid panel. You remember, I have a master's degree in assessing the thyroid. I want to see TSH, free T3, free T4 at the very least. And if I think that you may be potentially having a Hashimoto's thyroiditis or an autoimmune disorder, I'll ask for thyroid antibodies. I want estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and free testosterone. And if you are for sure not in menopause, I want luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone as well. That's the basics. Oh no, vitamin D3, I need to know. B12, I need to know. If I think that there's a problem with heart disease and inflammation, I'll ask for homocysteine, C-reactive protein to get a better idea of inflammation. So I can review all of those. There's a very clear point A to point B. If you have them, you have thyroid disorder or you have some issues going on with your hormones and so forth. Now, I do not diagnose that. So when I'm looking through, I don't say, oh, you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Or I do not say, I don't say you have PCOS, for example, polycystic ovary syndrome. Your blood work may indicate that, but I do not say that because PCOS is a diagnosis. What I can say is your hormones are not ideal. Let's change up your food. Let's change up your movement. Let's do some lifestyle changes, and look what your blood work does over the next 3 months. If it is still dysfunctional, then I start to farm that out, right? So send you to practitioner Shane Frankel for hormone assessment, or if there's a potential for maybe needing some thyroid hormone. Practitioner Frankel can do that, but Dr. Ben Edwards, Dr. Stephen Dalton here in town, Dr. Emily Deeds can do that. Those are the MDs that I would send them to. So yeah, I look at blood work. Also, I have to use the cholesterol numbers to ensure them. Most of the time I'm ensuring them that their cholesterol is not a problem, but yes, they're at risk for heart disease, not because of their cholesterol, but because of their triglycerides. So yes, I do look at blood work. But just no diagnosing. I just use it to guide me in proper supplementation and proper food. So, all right, you get one more question before we are out of here.
That's good, because now that, I do believe that you're going to help me be a much healthier person inside and out. I'm excited about it. There's one thing that's been bothering me, and I want to know if you can teach me or show me what exercises I need to do to reduce my love handles.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love this one, and I can answer it in a short, very, very briefly. There are no exercises. Zero. None. That abs are made in the kitchen, and love handles are gotten rid of in the kitchen. Love handles are body fat. You get rid of body fat by changing your food and eating in a calorie deficit. Now, the love handles may be the last thing to go. Let me give you an example. My brother is a bodybuilder. He was going to his first competition, and he was dropping fat, building muscle, dropping fat, building muscle, and looking good. And he's 2 weeks out from his competition, and he's still got love handles. Why is that? That's where he genetically holds fat. Therefore, he had to, in his last 2 weeks, got down to like 4% body fat. It was only at 4% body fat, a couple of days before the competition, that his love handles went away. So you want to look at it from, one, it's a food issue, not an exercise issue. And number two, where do you genetically store fat? If you genetically store fat in a certain place, it is going to be the very last place that you lose it. And like for me, my lower body is much more fat than my upper body. If I actually got my lower body to look the way I wanted it to look, I would look like Skeletor in my face. And so I have had doctors actually tell me, don't go by your lower body. Go by your face and your neck and your shoulders. Because if you want to be beautiful in your face, you're going to have to hold a little more fat in your lower body. That's fine. That's how I'm genetically made. All right, so one thing I want to say before we head out of here, it is New Year's, right? And this person didn't tell me this, but I bet she came to me because she had just made a New Year's resolution. And I am not opposed to New Year's resolutions, but I'll guarantee you that they're almost always going to fail. And this is what you want to do. Think about it like this. If you were in Google Maps and you put in your destination, right? So that's your goal, right? For your that's your New Year's resolution. What is the next thing Google Maps tells you, or it asks you? It asks you where you are. There's no way Google Maps can tell you how to get to where you want to be unless it knows where you are. And a lot of people only think about where they want to be, and they do not take a valuable assessment of where they are. I would have loved if you would come in and let me help you figure out where you are, health-wise, fitness-wise, and so forth, because I need to get you a point A, then we figure out the path to the goal. Don't just jump in with whatever random path you think works, because it really may not be appropriate. All right, so got to get the dog out. Doggy's coming out. Lily's saying bye to everybody. Hello. Oh my goodness, licking my face.
Lily.
All right, that is it for today, and I'll be back here again at 580 KRFE Lubbock at 9 a.m. on February 14th. Please like, share, and subscribe to my Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages. And remember to eat well, move often, get outside, and love your neighbor. I am not a medical doctor, and I do not diagnose and treat disease. The contents of this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Nothing in this show should be considered medical advice. Please consult your licensed and credentialed functional medicine practitioner before embarking on any health, dietary, or fitness change.
Thank you so much.